Hey folks, in this video example we are going to talk about reviews in MetaLocator. Now these are reviews that you may choose to display for individual locations. So let's say for example your locations represent repair centers, and those repair centers may have a 5-star review associated with them. Maybe they have 100 reviews. And so there are ways of getting that data into MetaLocator and displaying it on the locator. We're going to tackle this by first talking about ways of getting reviews into MetaLocator in bulk, and then also talk about how to collect reviews from your end users. And then we'll talk about how to display those reviews and summaries of those reviews in the interface itself. So we'll begin with the topic of bulk importing reviews. And so this is a case where maybe you have a list of reviews that you've collected over the years. Maybe you've extracted them from some external system, but ultimately you want to import multiple reviews for each of your locations. The way that you can do that is by extending the data format that MetaLocator already provides. And then off to the right, you'll see a special section for reviews that begin the review fields. We see review rating, comments, the date, the name, the title of the review if possible, and then sometimes there is a required attribution, that is where the review came from, and then maybe the name of that data source and whether or not the review is published. And so this represents one review. So we have comments, date, name, title, URL, spider, and published. And then you can repeat these columns just like we did with tags, tag 1, tag 2, tag 3, tag 4. We have review rating 1, and then over here you'll see review rating 2, review comments 2, date 2, etc. And then on to 3 and 4 and all the way up to a few hundred if you need to. And so all of those reviews, as they extend far off to the right, will apply to sample location 7 when they are imported. And so you can bulk import your reviews in that manner. And when you import the data, there's a couple important steps. So just go to locations and import, and we are going to import the file that we were just looking at. And the system is not going to recognize those fields, but that's okay. You can leave them as unrecognized. So let's just look at what that looks like. There'll be some unmatched columns. That's okay. They're going to show up as red as if the system doesn't recognize them. That's totally fine. Just click next, and we're going to go ahead and let's replace the data in the system with what we've got, just so we're starting fresh. And let's see what we now have under reviews. And so now a bunch of new reviews were added to this list. And so that indicates that the review import was successful. MetaLocator does its best job to determine whether or not the reviews are duplicates. So it will look at the combination of all the data you provide so as not to create an additional review, regardless of the options that you chose when you were importing. And so if essentially, if we were to repeat this import and we chose update existing and insert new, these reviews would not be created as duplicates. It's relatively smart in that way. And so that's one way of importing reviews in bulk. I want to point out another way of importing reviews, and that is through a provider called Yext. Yext is another company, technically a competitor of MetaLocators. They provide store locators. They also aggregate reviews. They charge quite a bit per location, and so one of the ways that we leverage what they do is by importing their reviews. And so if you go to import, one of the options is Yext. So you can import location content and reviews from Yext. And when you do that, it's going to ask you for an API key, whether or not you want to keep the data in sync. And then we even support things like a profanity filter or specific keywords that you want to exclude during the import. When you follow this procedure, the output is going to look like any other import, meaning that the next screen you'll end up on is that same column chooser. And when you import that data, you can simply include a location key of some sort that helps MetaLocator identify any existing or matching locations in MetaLocator. And then you can leave all those review fields just as they are provided and allow them to import, and MetaLocator will import them appropriately. And so importing reviews in bulk or importing reviews in Yext if you're a customer of theirs, but then you can also collect reviews from your customers. And this is a great way to bolster the data that you have in your account and also improve the value of each one of the results. And in the default setup, there is no review details added because, frankly, not a lot of people use the review functions, but we can add a couple features here. One is a link that will allow people to add a review. So under, let's go ahead and add that to this result list. So I'm going to click Add Field, and the field I'm going to add is a special field called Leave a Review. When I do that, we'll have a button there automatically added to the body. I'm just going to expand this, and I'll leave it actually exactly as it is. Maybe I'll just move it to the end of the list, and now we have our Leave a Review call to action. So when I click on this box, it's going to give me, the user, the ability to add a review. So great service, actually this would, and Fatika, gmail.com. This would be Mike Fatika, and then great service. Love it. And hit submit. And so that is the customer experience when they're on the locator. And when those those reviews come in, they get added to the reviews section. And so you'll see the review that I just added shown as Mike Fatika. Notice it's not published. And so by default, the reviews that come in, they could be incorrect. They could have profanity in them. They could be otherwise undesirable. Maybe it's a 1-star review that you don't want to automatically display. Those will come in and they will display right there as you get new reviews. So that is another way of getting reviews into your locator. So we talked about bulk importing. We talked about importing from Yext. And now we also talked about the ability for users to submit reviews directly into the locator. And now we may also want to leverage a way of displaying the reviews in the results. And so we can do that. It's just another field in the results. And we can do that by adding a field and choose Review Summary. Review Summary aggregates all the reviews for a given location and displays them. And so under Review Summary, we can choose a couple different ways of how that should be output. I'm going to choose the Review Stars output. And so what this does is it creates a nice star, relatively common star-based display of the individual results. You can change the color of these if you want. So under Styles, I could change this to warning. I think it would have to be the just like that. Yeah, now it's shown as yellow. Like any other MetaLocator template, you can edit this if you want to change how it displays. So that's the star-based layout, essentially allowing us to display that as a series of stars, and it shows 9 reviews. We can add Review Summary again if we want to. And in this case, we could choose, instead of stars, we could choose the summary list. And that is that shows the numerical ranking plus the total number of reviews. And so that's an example of the different ways that we can display reviews. And so you can display them here. You can also display them in the details pane. There's a review bars option as well that you may have seen. It essentially shows a horizontal bar for every type of review. That is a bar for your 1 stars, your 2 stars, your 3 stars, 4 and 5. And that should hopefully give you all the options you need to display reviews in your locator.